the border. So what we're going to talk about today is a tool that our alliance has started using in the past year or so called SmartSheet. And we've been using it for primarily project management, data collection, and that type of stuff. So we're just going to go through this. I did give a similar presentation at the LSMCE conference back in October, so if you were lucky enough to join us, this is pretty much just a recap of that, but I have included some additional information based on the questions that we received at that conference. So let's go ahead and get started. Hopefully I can remember how to use this. So the Inspire LSAMP Alliance, we're 16 colleges and universities, as I said, in 3 states. We have 5 community college, a tribal college, 3 state regions, and the rest of the alliance is private colleges and universities. One of the interesting things about our makeup is that none of us are part of a system. So we're all completely independent, which has brought along with it some challenges in collecting data for year-end reporting, such as just our annual report or for WebAMP. And so that's why we've had to turn to some interesting ways about collecting data in ways that maybe some of the other LSAMP alliances have not. As we talk to different alliances, we find that some are made up of primarily just a system, or it's a combination of system colleges and independent colleges. So some of the management challenges we have, of course, is WebAMP entry. Going back to the year end and looking at that, trying to gather data across 16 institutions that vary a lot, and trying to track student progress beyond just graduation or tracking them after they transfer from a community college to a 4-year institution, either within our alliance or outside of our alliance. And then also just retention tracking as well. So SmartSheet, as I said, it's a project management tool. It's web-based. And in a little bit, I'll take you to the website just so you can see what it looks like. We were originally introduced to SmartSheet through a department here on our campus called Grants Hub. And Grants Hub helps different departments on our campus with submitting proposals, especially if they're large proposals involving a large number of collaborators, especially such as LSAMP. But they introduced us to this, and it worked perfectly for what we were doing when we were collecting proposal documents, collecting the resumes or CVs, collecting budget information and that sort of thing. It was great because we had a nice central place that we could go to collect those documents. We received campus director feedback saying that they really enjoyed using the SmartSheet. It was much easier. And we also received feedback from some of the assistants that worked with the PIs at these campuses, really interested in what SmartSheet can do and how they can use it at their campuses. And based on that, that's why we decided to continue using it. And not only that, as I was going through SmartSheet and some of the benefits, or what is the word I'm looking for? Some of the features, that it had, I realized that it could be used in so many ways beyond just putting together our proposal for the next 5 years for NSF. So how are we using SmartSheet for our program? Well, we're using it for just general project management and collaboration. We use it for our annual reporting, to put a report together. There's a lot of information we collect beyond just the WebAMP data that we want to put into our annual report, such as how many students went to conferences, how many students were in our bridge programming, that particular sort of information. We're using it for our student database, which ties into evaluation. We've also created a mentor database so we can keep track of our mentors, what departments they're in, how to get a hold of them, and what students that they've been working with in the past. Budget management is something new that we've started to use it for. Many of our schools are very small. They don't have grants departments, or they don't have departments that have worked with federal proposals or federal grants in the past. And so this provides an extra level for our PIs, our campus directors, to kind of manage their budget and see what it is that I'm seeing, or to even catch errors that might be occurring on their campus. And then we use it also for some online applications that we tie into our website. So we have applications for research funding, travel, conference travel funding, research supplies, and then even for our summer programs. We have a program here called Rise Up, and then for our annual conference registrations as well. So as you can see through all of this, it has a lot of really great features. So here are just some minor, kind of more, I guess, direct features. We have SmartSheet has what they call private workspaces, which is wonderful for our situation, especially when we're sharing student data or information about students, or even race, ethnicity information about our mentors that maybe they don't want to be shared publicly. So we have these private workspaces where each of our colleges can go in and access the worksheets that we've created for them. And it's only shared to them or with them. And that way, campus directors at other campuses cannot see what is being reported, but the Alliance office itself has access to everything. In addition, these campus directors or their team members can go in and they can make edits to these worksheets that they're doing. And everything is done in real time, so we know that it's current and up to date. So we can share the worksheets and workspaces with anybody in our group. You can even share workspaces with someone outside of your group, but generally that does not occur. We can send email requests directly from the platform, so that if you're like me and you get like 10,000 emails a day, this feature allows that email to really stay within SmartSheet so that it doesn't get lost among everything else in your inbox. You can set up reminders. So if you want a campus director or a student to remember to do something or update something, you can use the reminders and the notifications features to do that. You can create templates. So like I said, we have 16 workspaces. We basically have everyone collecting the same information. And so by creating templates, we're not having to create a new worksheet every single time. We can create the web forms, which we use, like I said, for event planning or, for student funding requests. We're able to run reports based on the information. So at the end of the year, or when we want to report our WebAMP data, we can pull the information we need from all of the worksheets or specific worksheets within our SmartSheet. And this can happen across workspaces. The information can be exported to Excel, into a PDF, or other type of software. And then also, one feature of SmartSheet is that it does integrate with other platforms such as DocuSign, Box, and they keep integrating with more and more other platforms all the time, and it's constantly changing. So for project management, this is kind of like this basic thing that we use it for. I have a little snapshot, but I'm going to show you what it actually looks like in SmartSheet here in just a second. This is like our action items list, this little picture. Actually, and And what we can do is if we have certain items that we want our campus directors to complete, instead of sending them constant email reminders, we have this wonderful little spreadsheet where we list what items are due, and we list who it is that is required to fulfill that requirement or to complete it. And then we also can set a date when it's due. And then if it's been received, we can mark that off in the received box. And as you can see, there's a little, kind of see it, it's really tiny, it's a little paper clip here. And what that does is, it's kind of like an assignment. We have a student experience model. We want them to review it, update it, and then send it to us. And so they can attach it into SmartSheet, and it's right there for us to access. And in the future, if that campus director, such as Jeffrey, wants to access what he has sent us, he can click on that paperclip and see what exactly he sent us in the past. So it's really nice. We have the ability to kind of keep track of where everyone is in fulfilling the activities or requirements that we have for them. And we constantly update this all the time. So when WebAMP data is due, that would be one of the activities. And then from this, we can send them a reminder like, hey, you know, it's past the deadline. We still want the impact report dissemination plan. So let me try to switch over to SmartSheet itself. And John, I might need your help if you're still on the line, because I kind of forget how to do some of this, but let's see if we can.
Sure. So go ahead and share my screen.
Share my screen. Okay. And then I just pick what I want. Where is it at? Here we go. Okay. And share. Okay, can you see?
I see.
Yeah.
I see your smartsheet.com tab open in your browser.
Okay. All right.
Everyone else see that?
Can you see? So you can see the whole Smartsheet, is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
I can see it.
Okay, great. Because I'm using two screens, so I'm not sure what's showing up. But so let me take you to the action items list that I was telling you about. As you can see, on the left-hand side of your screen is this window, and it has all these little round blue icons with little people pictures in them, and those are our different workspaces. So, and I have a workspace created for each of our Alliance institutions. So you see 16 of them, and then we also have like a project management one, and I have a webinar one. So you can create a lot of different workspaces for what you're doing. And if I open up one of these arrows, you'll see all the folders, and within these folders are our different worksheets that we use. And for Augustana College, it's only shared. If you look clear on the right-hand side of the screen, it says Workspace Shared To, and it shows the individuals that it's shared to. So Louis is my assistant, Diane is our director of Inspire LSAMP, Mary's our evaluator, and then Jeff, who is the campus director for Augustana. And those are the only individuals that can see any of the information in this workspace. So individuals at like Des Moines Area Community College or Doane University does not have access to this information. So let's go back to the action items list that I had showed you earlier. If I open up the right workspace here. I'm just going to load, and you can see it's updated a little bit. I've highlighted anything that's in red, showing that you know, it's past due. Here's the paperclip icon on the left-hand side of the screen. If I click on that, a window opens up, and you can see what has been attached. And the campus director can attach stuff. I can attach stuff. And it just kind of keeps growing. And as far as I know, there is not a limit to how many things that you can attach. If you see this little balloon here, this is the comments box. And you can leave little comments for the campus director or vice versa. You can leave a comment for you. You can share links, which is really nice. And then you can also use this feature if you click on the little arrow. you'll see this little drop-down box appear, and you can send an update request, and that's just to ask them to maybe update their information if something's changed. Or you can send, you can set a reminder, so if you want them to be reminded automatically about when something is due, you can do that. So you don't have to remember to email everyone on February 23rd to turn in their information. You can already set it for the 23rd, enter a message, and it'll just automatically go out on that date. So this is something we use. We've also added like a column for our campus directors to mark when something's done, in case there was something that does not have an attachment or maybe isn't as obvious that it's completed. So that's how we use it for general project management. I'm going to go back here to our home screen. The other things, as I mentioned, is like we use forms for like applications and whatnot, and I'll show you what that looks like. Here's an application for travel funds from students. So you can see that's filled out, and it's filled out by the student, but if you click at the bottom, there's a web form tab, and we can preview the web form. So this is what we send to our students, where we have a link on our website with all the directions and then the application information. Students can also upload file attachments. So if you want to see like a PDF abstract of their research poster they're going to present, they can upload that file attachment. And you can also set it up so that if you want, after the student finishes this and you want the mentor to approve it, you can send an update request to the mentor to have them approve this request as well. So those are just some general ways that we're using it for project management. So let me flip back here to my slides. Do I just hit share document? Is that correct, John? Good thing he's here. Okay. So let me go back. So now for the next slide, Webforms and Worksheets, and here's a few more examples. We have like an additional annual reporting information web form for the end of the year annual reporting, Rise Up summer application, and then more. So so let's go into annual reporting next. So what we were doing before with annual reporting is we had actually reached out to the Wisconsin LSAMP to ask them, like, how do you do annual reporting? How do you collect all this information for WebAMP? And they shared with us their forms, which at the time it worked for what we needed. And the problem is that sometimes we might have people fill out multiple forms, or they might fill out a form for every single meeting they had, and it could get a little cumbersome at times. Or our campus directors wouldn't necessarily follow the protocol that we asked them to do. So these were really a nice way to start out when we didn't have any other options available to us for collecting information. And in the end, it actually served as kind of our templates for SmartSheet when we started to use SmartSheet. It was, at least for the evaluator, very laborious and tedious. I know a lot of our campus directors complained about it as well, especially if they had a lot of students in their program. So what we decided to do in SmartSheet is that we created these different web forms for each of those forms that we were using for WebAMP. So we have a student demographics information form where we collect student information, and this form can be filled out by the student or it can be filled out by the campus director. If it's completed by the campus director, we want them to upload a hard copy of the form with the student's signature on it. The reason for that is that we're asking the students to we provided an acknowledgement that we do share the information with NSF for one, and then we do ask them if we can use their photo or anything like that for marketing purposes, that sort of thing. We've created one for like what I showed you earlier was the additional reporting information, and then we have a team participant information form. So if we want to collect information about all the different teams at each of the campuses, we can do that. This says that we're converting, but we've actually converted over. We have a mentor database now where we collect faculty demographics, and then we also have one for activities information. So all of those forms that Wisconsin LSAMP had shared with us, we just converted them into web forms in SmartSheet. And as I said before, we can also do update requests, which is great because if a student wants to update, if we want the student to update their GPA information, we can actually just send a request to them to update their GPA information. So it's quite brilliant in that respect. So here is a student database we had created originally in SciPoint or SharePoint. Iowa State likes to dub everything with cyclones. We had one in SharePoint, but it was it worked pretty good for the most part, except that our external users, our campus directors, had terrible login issues. And eventually what we learned was from Iowa State, the IT department, was that they were going to do away with SharePoint completely because everyone had so many problems, which meant that we were going to have to recreate our student database all over again. So it sort of mildly worked when external users could get into the program, but it was not popular by any means. So how does our student database look now? So when a student or a campus director completes the student demographics web form, when they complete this web form, it automatically, that information goes into the spreadsheet, which looks exactly like Excel. It functions like Excel. There's a few little minor differences, but everything in SmartSheet, as far as the worksheets are concerned, very similar to Excel. So if you know how to use Excel, you'll be able to use SmartSheet, and it really doesn't require a lot of training to do so. As I said, each campus is provided with their own workspace. In their workspace, they have one of these student demographics reporting worksheets. So they have access to the web form. They can send that to their student to have them complete the web form. Once the student completes that, the information is funneled into this file, into this spreadsheet. Now, once it's filed into this spreadsheet, you can collect everything. Our form is actually, it's really long. I don't even want to know how many columns it is. One of the beauties about this is that we can add columns to this spreadsheet that does not show up in the web form. So the web form does not have to use all of the columns that's in your spreadsheet. And I'll show you that in just a minute. It does also have an upload feature in the demographics form, so if there's some other information we're trying to collect, we can collect that as well. And then, as I said, campus directors can send these update requests. So let me just switch back over to SmartSheet so you can see this a little bit better. Okay. All right. So I've created some for our little webinar here. I'm going to open up the student information tab here. And as you can see, this is all of the this is only for one school, by the way. So this is some of the student information we collected using this web form. I'll click on the web form. And we'll preview it.